In the silent cradle of a dying world, a child was born under a sky of alien stars. Titanthe, moon of Saturn, had once been a realm of science and serenity, home to a race of wise Eternals. But then, the newborn arrived, shrouded in an aura of dark portent. They named him Thanos. Even before his first breath, fate had whispered in his ear that he was different. He grew in Titan's twilight. The other children chased solar butterflies. He studied the maps of planets. They built crystal machines and sang of harmony. He listened to the cold whisper of empty space. From the start, he was tall and somber, scarred by the deviant gene while his kin remained radiant. The elders watched him warily, sensing in his dark eyes the echo of something vast and hungry. The more he learned, the quieter he became. The stars were calling, and Titan's peace could not keep its silence. One afternoon, Thanos walked alone beneath the silver arches of Titan's palace gardens. He traced strange symbols in the jade grass with one finger, murmuring dreams even he could not name. His mother, the great Suisan, followed him quietly. She had been haunted by visions ever since his birth, pictures of cosmic empires burning in silence. At the sight of Thanos scribbling lines she did not understand, her fear finally broke. Mistaking her son for a herald of doom, she raised her hand to strike. In an instant, the garden became chaos. Suisan's lips twisted with grief and terror. Thanos' instincts roared awake. He clutched a fallen statue piece, galvanized by an instinct older than any teaching Titan could give him. Her cry shattered the air. Then mother and child were locked in a fatal embrace of confusion. A pulse of strange energy radiated from Thanos' trembling hands, as if the stars themselves flinched. The silver robes of Suisan fell, as she lay still in the jade grass. Everything changed in that awful moment. Titan's shining halls could not hide the truth. The boy had killed his mother. He stood unmoving, staring at the silence where she had been. Later, Titan's healers would examine the deep wound on his arm, the twisted shard that tore through flesh. They whispered that fate had chosen a harsh lesson for him. He had taken the life of the one who had given him life. In the days that followed, Thanos spoke little. He wandered Titan's gardens and starlit beaches with hollow eyes, carrying a burden beyond his years. The news spread quickly. Even Mentor Alaz, Titan's leader, was shaken to the core. Some hoped wisdom might blossom from this tragedy, but none doubted that the path had changed forever. Titan's people were left with a heavy choice. Thanos, tormented and feared, could not remain. In quiet agreement, they gave him leave. The young Titan boarded a silent vessel and departed without ceremony. Titan's world grew smaller behind him, soon only a pale dot in the cosmic sea. He never looked back. He was alone now, set adrift on his own fate. He gazed at the pale dot of Titan receding into the void. Even as Titan's forests and oceans shrank from view, he felt a strange emptiness stir within him. He had learned a bitter truth. Even love can harbor a knife. Therefore, he vowed, never again would he be a victim. Power stirred in his veins, angry and hungry for purpose. He whispered an oath to the empty sky. Someday, he would make the darkness answer for his pain. The black sea of stars stretched out before him. He closed his eyes as the engines hummed, and for the first time since the tragedy, a grim thought bloomed. Titan might have cast him away, but out here he could become anything. He would one day master life and death itself. All life must be balanced, he swore. Even the cosmos would tremble at the name of Thanos. He felt destiny stir in his blood, awakening a promise older than time itself, a destiny untold. And so Titan disappeared from view, but Titan was only the prologue to a saga that had only just begun. Far beyond Titan's glow, Thanos drifted among the silent stars, his mind restless. At first, the journey was nothing but emptiness and fuel for introspection. But then the void whispered back at him, echoing his unspoken thoughts: balance, purpose, power. In the hush of space, he replayed the oath he had made to never be a victim again, and to master life and death itself. He thought of all he had lost. Titan, which had once been a sanctuary of knowledge, was now little more than a distant memory. His mother's blood had stained his hands, his people had turned him away. Anger and grief swirled in him like a supernova about to burst. The silence of space could not assuage his hunger for answers, for strength, for something. It was during this solitary voyage that Thanos first encountered the Lady of Death. Legend said she wandered at the edge of the universe, cloaked in shadows older than time. Some would have called it coincidence that she appeared before him, but Thanos never believed in accidents. In the flicker of starlight, he perceived a figure, a pale woman whose eyes were empty galaxies. For a moment, her gaze met his, and he felt a chill unlike any he'd known even when he took his mother's life. She spoke with no words, but her presence carried a message. Thanos sensed that he had found something he never knew he needed. If death herself had appeared, then perhaps his fate was entwined with eternity from the very beginning. A terrible calm fell over him. Titan's sorrow was distant now. The void responded to him. In that meeting of souls, Thanos swore an oath. He would court this lady in the shadow sheetless of any rule or godsend, bring to her a tribute worthy of eternity. "I will show you balance," he vowed silently. "For without you, even existence is meaningless." He did not yet know how he would do it, but something in the cosmos had set him on this course, and he accepted that truth without regret. From that moment, Thanos' quest changed. He no longer chased random scraps of power. Instead, he began to gather knowledge and strength. He scoured the galaxy, gathering wisdom from distant civilizations and warriors forged in countless battles. Each conquest only tempered his will like a forge tempers iron. He revealed nothing of his true aim, and used every victory as a stepping stone in his plan. Cosmic foes fell before him, rebels, warlords, and ancient beasts, but Thanos did not linger. Striking swiftly and disappearing, he let none question his name. Each victory fed his legend, but Thanos did not pause to savor it. Fear was for lesser men. He had only purpose. In the quiet aftermath of each battle, he listened for the lady's call, the dark promise he had sworn to uphold. In such moments, he remembered the oath and felt the fires of resolve burn stronger. Yet whispers reached him of a cosmic cube that could alter reality itself. Thanos hunted it, unleashing storms of fire across worlds. In the end, even the cube eluded his grasp. With its loss, he realized raw power was not enough. Therefore, to shape fate, he would need something greater. He gazed out at the endless stars, their silent watch unblinking. He closed his eyes and resolved to gather the Infinity Gems. The vow settled in him like a blade in stone, an eternal promise written in the void. He would scour galaxies and claim the relics of gods, until the whisper of his name meant doom for the universe. Nothing would stand in his way. He opened his eyes to the swirling cosmos. As the void listened, Thanos' whispered promise echoed endlessly. And so he turned from memory to mission. The Titan's great crusade had begun. With purpose ignited and an oath in his heart, Thanos turned his gaze to the heavens. The universe held treasures beyond imagining, cosmic gems of boundless power scattered like stars across the void. They were called the Infinity Gems, and each one alone could unravel reality. Together, they would make him godlike. For Thanos, failure was not an option. He had come this far, and now he would gather them all, no matter the cost. And so began the Titan's hunter pilgrimage across star systems and history, seeking those jewels that would fulfill his dark vow. His first steps took him to forgotten realms of the galaxy. Planets long lifeless now held clues to a gem's resting place. He waded through asteroid seas and burned down citadels of sand, following whispers from dying beings who dared to dream of power. In the ruins of a shattered monastery, he found the time gem, hidden in the eye of a rusted clockwork owl. Without hesitation, he claimed it. But even as the gem's power flooded his veins, Thanos felt no triumph. He would not rest until the vow was fulfilled. There was more to come. He continued his odyssey with remorseless resolve. In the frozen depths of a crystal world, he challenged a tribe of ice knights who worshipped a fanged deity. Years of solitude melted away in violence as the Titans slew their god in a single punch, retrieving the power gem from its bleeding hands. Stars themselves dimmed beneath the sheer force of his presence in that ice cavern. He did not flinch, for his resolve was iron. But there was no celebration. Even as he slipped the gem onto a gauntlet he wore, Thanos' eyes looked inward. Power was no longer enough without purpose. He did not trust even his own shadow. The only rule he followed was his own. Next came the realms of mind and soul. He descended into a dream city that floated above the void, governed by thought alone. From among its telepathic sages, he quietly took the mind gem, pressing it to his temple and feeling its whispers. The gem burned with alien wisdom, but he would not bend his will. There was hunger still. The universe's very essence had to yield to him. His fingers itched for what remained. Dark places called to him after that. He hunted the reality gem deep in a shadowed dimension shaped by nightmares, tricking a trickster god into trading it for a lie he could not escape. He wrestled the space gem from the vault of a star chariot god after outracing comets and defeating heralds in duel. Throughout these contests, one by one he mastered the elusive artifacts. Each conquest was marked by both triumph and a hollow echo. With each gem, the weight of destiny grew heavier upon his shoulder. He felt each victory fuel his hunger, but he questioned nothing. His legend spread. Tales of a mad titan collecting wonders and breaking cosmos rippled outward like shockwaves from a cosmic stone. Some worlds prepared armies, others offered sacrifices. Heroes of many stars finally stood against him. A mighty warrior from Earth lifted the thunder-wrought hammer of a storm wielder and roared, though Thanos blocked it with a single hand. On another world, sorcerers bent reality to protect their coven, only to find themselves undone by Thanos' cunning. None could muster the unyielding resolve he carried. Yet even this tribute was still not enough. By the time he had gathered 5 gems in the gilded web of an interstellar dragon's fortress, the cosmos itself began to tremble at his approach. Wherever he walked, the air crackled. The stars flickered as if afraid to shine. Thanos felt a satisfaction unlike any he'd known, but even that was tinged with a question. There was one gem left, and it was guarded by something unimaginable. He felt a fierce anticipation in his veins. Rumors among the stars spoke of an in-between realm where the boundaries of reality blurred. The soul gem, they whispered, lay there with a heavy price. Thanos smiled in the void that no one heard. Such barriers meant nothing to one like him. He entered that realm naked of all defenses but his will, and he won the gem by facing himself. Something old and cruel inside him reached from the gem's shadow and recognized a kindred purpose. One by one, he placed the infinity gems into the golden glove he had crafted. Once they settled, a hush fell over the cosmos. From nothing, Thanos drew a breath as flames of creation and destruction danced in his eyes. The gauntlet on his hand glowed with light that warped the very frame of space. With the universe in the palm of his hand, an immortal titan stood on the threshold of destiny. The infinity gems were assembled, and with them, he was nearly complete. But even as he stood near complete, Thanos understood the war was only just beginning. It felt like the final move of a game only he could win. The silence of power settled in him like an eclipse, and for the first time, he wondered what he must do next. All that remained was to make good on the promise etched into his soul. Thanos stood on the precipice of godhood, the Infinity Gauntlet shining on his gauntleted hand like a second sun. He raised it to the sky, and in a single heartbeat, the entire cosmos shuddered. A storm of light and darkness spiraled from him as he made a decision that would echo through eternity. Let there be balance. With a snap of his fingers, he enacted his twisted ideal. Across the universe, a tremor ran through every star system and every living being. Half of all life blinked out of existence. Planets once teeming with life became silent husks. He watched as entire civilizations winked into nothingness, each soul drifting beyond the veil. When he opened his eyes, the universe was still and sparse and bloody. The Titan had done what he believed was necessary. He had won death's favor. But when Thanos reached out in triumph, he found only emptiness. In those quiet moments after the storm, Thanos surveyed his kingdom. Once swarming worlds were now vast, empty gardens of ghosts. The stars themselves shivered in that silence. And finally, he faced her Lady Death herself, the pale throne on which he had pinned his heart. But Death remained distant, cold as the void. Even with all the power and sacrifice, he found no love in her gaze. The revenge he had craved, the approval he had yearned for, was denied. Without fanfare, he raised his gauntlet to demand from Death the embrace he sought. But there was none. Only the endless calm of space acknowledged him. Across the galaxies, Thanos roared in frustration. The torment of emptiness gnawed at him deeper than any wound. In that emptiness, he found himself betrayed not by others, but by the unyielding silence he had invited. And then came betrayal from the most unexpected corner. Nebula, a twisted offspring of his own blood, snaked behind his back. In one instant of rage and cunning, she became his executioner. The mad Titan could only watch as his enemies overran him. The Infinity Gauntlet was wrested from his grip and claimed by another. Power abandoned him like dust in the void. Without the Gauntlet's glow, he was a Titan once more, and this time utterly broken. Defeated but not dead, Thanos was forced into hiding. He nursed his bitterness in the dark. Far away, life began to stutter back. Half the souls he had claimed returned, building lives from the ashes he had wrought. Planets began to green. The universe healed its wounds, one painful heartbeat at a time. But in the quiet corners of creation, the legend of Thanos lingered, a warning, a memory, a ghostly promise of what had been done. Shorn of unimaginable power, Thanos felt emptier than ever. He had shattered existence itself, yet felt more alone. The path ahead was uncertain, lost in the cosmic twilight. But even as the universe recovered, a new resolve began to kindle in his heart. The war may have ended in failure, but Thanos understood something profound. His story was far from over. In the silent wake of Thanos' earlier fury, the Titan found no rest. Between the stars, talk of his deeds had echoed into the ears of other cosmic minds. One such whisper found Adam Warlock, now troubled by an even greater danger. A dark doppelganger known as the Magus. The evil half of Warlock split across universes. Warlock approached Thanos with a proposal as strange as it was urgent. They must join forces to stop the Magus before he distorted reality beyond repair. At first, Thanos listened in silence, calculating like the cold machine he was. Here was a cosmic balance upset yet again, and again it fell outside mere mortal concerns. Thanos' logic aligned with Warlock's plea. A universe at war with itself threatened all existence. Thanos agreed, not out of self-sacrifice, but because it was consistent with his goal of universal equilibrium. He donned cosmic armor and gathered a host to confront this new threat. On a ruinous world of endless twilight, Thanos faced the Magus at last. Other heroes had fought alongside him. There were guardians of light, and even the champions he had once battled now at his side. But Thanos and Warlock confronted the Magus alone. In the ruins of a shattered altar, the Magus spat madness at them, warping the air with chaotic magic. Yet Thanos stood firm, using every gem and weapon he possessed. In that confrontation, logic clashed with logic, heroism with cruelty. When Thanos struck, it was final. The Magus was no more. Reality rippled back into order. What remained of the heroes looked on in awe and unease. They had witnessed Thanos stop a catastrophe of his own making. Though none thanked him outright, a reluctant respect grew. A man who once waged cosmic war had just saved the cosmos, and that thought stayed heavy on Thanos' mind. It was a victory twisted by reflection. Thanos understood that the Magus had been like him, desperate to control a universe indifferent to their will. By destroying the Magus, Thanos had saved countless souls, but he had also felt the hollow echo of his own nature. He was reminded that obsession, if taken too far, could just as easily become a force of creation or destruction. As if to test his resolve, the universe sent another challenge. Fragments of universal purity rallied, led by a woman of mysterious faith. She sought to erase sin with an infinite mind, spreading a naive but dangerous peace. Worlds bathed in tranquil light and swords fell silent, but Thanos knew this was another imbalance in need of reckoning. He watched the crusade unfold, but did not join. When heroes faltered under the goddess's siren plan, Thanos calmly spoke his mind. He warned that absolute utopia would undo the universe's balance just as thoroughly as tyranny. In a rare moment, his logic swayed even the most fervent minds. It was not a glorious victory, but a delay, yet Thanos took this compromise as a sign. The cosmic crusade faded, leaving the universe flawed but free. Looking out across the stars, Thanos saw worlds rebuilding themselves after the madness, and he nodded. He had done what he came to do. Yet somewhere deep in the quiet of the cosmos, the Titan's mind still ticked. Questions remained. And like all his journeys, this one drew to a close. With the cosmic wars over, Thanos had gained no throne, nor the love he craved. Instead, he gained wisdom. Even the strongest will could bend, and even the most righteous zeal could spark an obsession. His enemies had become allies of a sort, and he had stood at the side of the very heroes he once set out to destroy. Thanos withdrew once more into silence. He was neither at the zenith of power nor in the depths of despair. Instead, he was liminal, an immortal in transit, walking unseen between stars. Though he had been a harbinger of doom and a strange savior all at once, his story continued, and somewhere in the vast expanse, far from mortal sight, he planned the steps that would define his next rise. Even as centuries passed, Thanos remained a cosmic wanderer. He sensed that even death herself had changed. Whispers among the stars spoke of a great void where life had grown rampant, so rampant that death could no longer keep her side of the bargain. The universe had lost its balance again, this time because everything was alive and nothing could die. Thanos realized this disturbance might be the final reckoning of his old quest. At great risk, he sought out the cosmic starship, the Living Star, a vessel that could traverse the fractures between realities. Guided by an old ally of the Eternals, Tiamat the Dreaming Celestial, he traveled into a warped dimension where cosmic laws had broken. There he found the answer to death's silence, a universe beyond the veil where no creature could die, like an endless cycle of life that imprisoned souls forever. It was a counterbalance gone haywire. In that place, Thanos confronted a truth he had only half believed. Death meant as much to the cosmos as life itself. If death could not hold sway, the living universe would collapse under its own immortality. Thanos chose an unthinkable path. He became the Lord of Life, a twisted mirror of his former self, a warrior of creation rather than destruction. Empowered by the Star brand, he wielded the unimaginable power of renewal and took the fight to the realm where death was banished. Thanos led the charge against endless armies of smiling worshippers and immortal horrors. Celestial gods and fallen heroes rose as monsters before him. For every blow they struck at him, he returned tenfold life. From the ashes of a dying sun, he snatched dying embers and grew them into new stars with a thought. He put the whole idea of an endless, unchanging world to rest with each strike of his cosmic star sword. All the while, the Titan remained undaunted. This was a war where even he could not truly win, but he fought on all the same. In the final clash beneath the skyless abyss, Thanos faced Lord Marvel, the avatar of life itself in that dimension. The two were once enemies, now two sides of the same coin. One champion of life, the other champion of death. They clashed with a purpose neither truly understood. When the dust settled, it was not a victory of one over the other, but a reckoning of the cosmic order. Death had reclaimed her dominion in time for the next chapter of existence. The deathless realm crumbled, and from it emerged the balance that had been missing. When Thanos returned to his own universe, he was not alone. He had brought back with him a strange companion, one born of balance itself, the life force incarnate. With it came a gift for Thanos, the chance to feel something he had never truly allowed himself: remorse. He had been Lord of Life only to restore death, and now he carried a weight of memory unlike any he had known. It was said that even death herself shed a tear for the Titan. No one cheered for Thanos as he stepped back among the living. Empires still whispered his name in fear. He had done what even few gods would dare. Yet, in that quiet act, lay a tragedy. The mad Titan had gone as far as logic and love of balance would take him. All that remained was the dark echo of solitude. Thanos emerged from that ordeal fundamentally changed. He walked the void with a strange humility. He had seen life at its truest extremes. For the first time, he understood what peace, however fleeting, could mean to the universe he wandered. No temple or star heralded his return. Instead, only the stars themselves bore witness to the Titan's silent vow. He would guard that balance, however lonely the road. Thanos' name became legend, not only in fear, but in whispered prophecy. Ages later, a new cosmic crisis emerged, and the Titan was once again at its heart. This time it began in New York, where Thanos' long-lost daughter Gamora confronted destiny itself. A mysterious cult had collected the shattered pieces of cosmic artifacts known as Infinity Points, attempting to use them to fulfill an ancient prophecy. When the cult could not control the unleashed power, the Titan arrived to right the imbalance. In the chaos that ensued, Thanos fought alongside and against heroes alike. He faced nameless armies mutated by infinity power. He traded blows with spider-wrought warriors and thunderous champions. Everywhere he turned, the mad Titan remained single-minded. The Infinity Points had to be dealt with. In one moving moment, he protected a group of youngsters from a cosmic explosion, an act that no one would credit him for, but one that marked the last flicker of the Thanos that had once cared for life. Still, Thanos was an inexorable force. When New York itself began to tear apart under the power of the Infinity Points, Thanos became the arbiter of fate. He took up an ancient gauntlet harnessing the points, and in a silent dedication brought all their might to bear. He sacrificed his own omnipotence. Channeling it, he purified the points once and for all, sparing the world from destruction. When the dust settled, the Titan was empty-handed but calm. Gamora, awakened from slumber, looked at her father with something that might have been understanding. The prophecy that had almost consumed the world was written in the stars once more. For Thanos, perhaps it was written in his own soul. Afterward, Thanos lost no time lingering among mortals. Gamora's gaze lingered only a moment in gratitude, and he understood without words that for once he had saved someone he cared for. Then, without a backward glance, he melted back into the cosmos. Alone again, the Titan felt the weight of every life he had touched, ended, and saved. Thanos returned at last to the place where his journey began. He drifted back to Titan, when its new generations were content. Upon its green plains and beneath its purple skies, he quietly observed the children of Mentor Alas at play. He felt nothing but a remote nostalgia. In that moment, the Mad Titan acknowledged a simple truth. He had truly become the protector he once could not have imagined. With that burden lifted, he turned away. Titan was no longer his home. And somewhere in the dark expanse, his mind still ticked. He understood that as long as balance was threatened by blind devotion or blind hatred, he would answer the call. The tale of the Mad Titan had been written across the fabric of reality, from Titan to New York and beyond. For now, it was only just turning to a new page. Long after the wars were over, Thanos became a ghost story to those who knew the stars. He had no kingdom and no throne, only the cosmos itself to roam. The Titan drifted among the galaxies, sometimes appearing where imbalance lurked. A rift might bleed reality in a forgotten sector, or a dying star might fade without a proper death. Thanos would come and ensure the scales evened once again. He was reluctant and methodical. Never openly heroic, he nonetheless intervened when only he could. Never again did he slaughter worlds on a whim, but neither did he hesitate to act as judge when needed. He hung back as a tyrant might, calculating every choice. When faced with tyranny greater than himself, he fought without mercy. When a civilization lost all reason to live, he guided it back from the edge. A child in some war-torn village might call the Titan a demon with storms for eyes, or a hero of the new Milky Way might speak of him as an unkillable guardian. Either way, Thanos did not stay to hear their gratitude or their curses. He simply vanished back into the starry abyss. Even the distant Celestials came to learn of his deeds in whispered counsel. When a black hole threatened to swallow a dying star system, Thanos was there to disrupt its maw and turn disaster into a calm release of energy. If a swarm of cosmic parasites tried to strip life from a newborn planet, Thanos hunted them to extinction. He observed alien democracies with curiosity. If one toppled into anarchy, he would ensure only the rightful heirs emerged. And always, he melted away before the survivors could name him hero or demon. In these later days, Thanos found a strange companion: duty itself. Life and death were once again in conflict. Throughout creation, cosmic empires rose, heroes fell, but balance endured. The Mad Titan had grown wiser. He understood that neither light nor darkness could be allowed to rule unchecked. Whenever an eclipse of tyranny threatened the weak, Thanos would slip out of the shadows. Through the eyes of wandering planets and whispering stars, he watched men and gods and children build their imperfections. He learned that there were larger games still being played. Empires rose and fell without Thanos' intervention. Gods and monsters came and went. Whenever the tipping point returned, Thanos reappeared, a shadow on the rim of battle, a flicker of purple light in the void. No flag bore his emblem, no future tome recorded his speech, but the cosmic scales remained level because of him. He carried on in the loneliest of ways, and so he watched. When entire races vanished or great scourges rose, Thanos was there to tip the scales. The universe met him with ancient caution. Legends spoke of demigods defeated by flickers of purple light, of tyrants thwarted by whispers on the wind. These deeds were hidden, done silently in the void, as if the cosmos itself answered its creator's command. He had become part of the fabric of reality, no longer its executioner, but a warden unseen. In this endless duty, he found a fragment of peace. And as countless stars burned and died around him, Thanos continued his vigil in the cold quiet of space. He spoke not, yet the very cosmos learned to adapt. No mortal wrote songs of Thanos' mercy, but they felt its breath in the wind of life. Even now, the Titan of Titan remained, an eternal watchman in the endless night. He turned his eyes to Titan one last time, and then to the dark canvas of space. A lone figure on the edge of infinity, he realized with dark clarity that this was his lot. Thanos' tale would continue in silence until destiny demanded otherwise. In the end, even cosmic titans must face their destiny. Ages turned their wheel, and the universe found itself gripped by an ultimate cataclysm. Realities bled into each other, and Thanos was drawn into the maelstrom. In those final days, the Mad Titan fought as he always had, with purpose and unflinching resolve. He stood among heroes and villains alike as all creation converged. When a god made of all sorrows sought to remake existence, it was Thanos who answered the call once more. He clashed with impossible faux shadows of alternate worlds, giants of pure energy, and a final god forged by mortal ambition. The universe groaned under the strain, but Thanos never wavered. He took up arms not for triumph, but simply to do what was needed. In a moment that split heavens, one reborn supreme being uttered a whisper, a word of power beyond telling. In an instant, Thanos' journey halted. The Mad Titan fell as he had begun, under alien stars. There was no requiem, no flash of glory. All that remained was silence. The hand that once wielded death and life lay still at last. And yet, even in that silence, the echo of his legacy endured. Even as worlds rebuilt, they felt the balance he had restored. Children would read of the Titan's deeds in stories passed among the stars. Planets he touched would carry the slivers of balance he left behind. Death had finally claimed the Mad Titan, but in the lifeblood of the universe he remained alive. His death was just one more strand in the endless cycle of creation and decay. In the hushed aftermath, no chorus of triumph was given. Thanos had no one to mourn him, only the universe to reckon with what he had done. Yet even in oblivion, Thanos had ensured a balance that even he could not break. In every corner of existence, Thanos lived onus, a lesson written in stardust. For eons to come, civilizations would whisper his name with reverence and fear. And so, on Titan, or any world under starlight, his story would be told for generations to come. The story of Thanos began in silence and ends in silence, yet the echoes remain eternal. A child born under a quiet sky of alien stars grew into a figure that none in the universe could ignore. He had begun as a lonely Titan boy, shunned and haunted, and he became an immortal whose footsteps still echo across worlds. In the end, there are no ceremonies grander than the quieting of eternity itself. As the dust settled on reality's final war, the cosmos remembered the Titan. Some called him monster, others savior. But above all, he was fate's experiment made real. The paradox of Thanos was woven into time and space. One could never disentangle logic from obsession in his veins. He sought balance with infinite patience, and in doing so became the balance. Every story of creation and destruction carried a trace of his will. The stars and planets themselves still pulse with the energy he once guided. And so, Thanos returned at last to his beginning. Far beyond Titan's moon, in the black tapestry of space, he could almost feel Titan beneath his feet. Perhaps he saw Titan as an echo in the distance, or in his dreams he heard those long-ago lullabies. The boy who was different, who listened to the whispers of empty space, had fulfilled a destiny grander than Titan could ever know. This is the tale of Titan's son, a boy of silence, a warrior of destiny. His was a journey across the endless midnight of the cosmos, a story of ambition meeting cold reason, of sacrifice and sorrow carved into the very stars. We who have listened remember it in every heartbeat of the universe, and as long as life rises and falls, the memory of the Mad Titan will be kept alive. For in the great ledger of existence, Thanos has signed his name forever, and the cosmos has not forgotten. Thus was the legend of Titan's son forged into the fabric of the cosmos, an eternal balance for all to follow. The cycle had begun among Titan's people, and, in a way, it never truly ends as long as light battles darkness among the stars. Even now, his story resonates. With each whisper of the void, Titan's son lives on in legend.